Good afternoon. My name is Juliana Valdez Herrera, and today I will be talking about how I applied the Assure model through my copyrights presentation for the students. So starting with A, analyzing the learners. In my presentation includes written content in which learners can redirect for additional information and also being lectured on the topic that can help with understanding any misconceptions that they may have. Within the presentation as well, there are examples of when and how to cite sources as they are being used respectfully. So this by doing this within my presentation, I was able to analyze the learners depending on their needs. So if some of the learners are more of a visual learner and they wanted to see examples of what that citing looked like, I applied some of the examples for them to refer back to. Also, as far as making sure I brought the content down to their level of thinking. So if there was any misconceptions, I was willing to clarify anything that they probably were confused on the topic. The standards and objectives that I use within my presentation. The objectives clearly are stated and focus on the learner outcomes after the lecture is concluded. The objectives are tied into the AASL standards, and so I made sure I tied those in with the objectives of the students. Yeah, in the original presentation, the standards below are the ones that are being addressed to align with the objectives of what I included in the presentation. So the first one was A.3.1. Learners identify collaborative opportunities by demonstrating their desire to broaden and deepen their understandings. Second one was D.1.3. Learners participate in an ongoing inquiry-based process by enacting new understanding through real-world connections. And this is just connecting to what they can come across when it comes to copywriting. So using those examples in real-world terms. 8.6.2. Learners follow ethical and legal guidelines for gathering and using information by understanding the ethical use of information, technology, and media. C.1.1. Learners adapt, communicate, and exchange learning products with others in a cycle that includes interacting with content presented by others. And this could have been the presentation presented by me. And then also if there is any additional aid or help that they needed from collaborating within a group, whether that came down to practicing those copyright concepts and skills within a group or individually, they can rely on their fellow peers. Selecting strategies and resources. In the presentation, the students were given the strategies that they can apply in respect to the copyright laws and policies. The strategies are in a kid-friendly language, so I made sure that what I took from my learnings of the copyright, I made it kid-friendly to where they were able to understand, depending on the grade level. I feel like it's appropriate for any grade level within the elementary level up until the high school level. And it's not too complex for students to understand. But again, the resources and strategies, if they were to be a little bit complicated or misleading for the students, then there was always that opportunity to clarify those misconceptions. I utilized utilizing the resources in consideration to planning for this step. Using the 5 Ps, the presentation provides with clear objectives, which are presented at the beginning of the presentation that lead with the information that students need to acquire pertaining to the topic of copyright. The learning environment is within the library where they can be expected to apply the skills that they have learned and in their classroom, since this is in collaboration with their teacher, Ms. Stewart. And so we wanted to make sure that we gave them those tools, those strategies that they can make sure that are applicable within the library, in the classroom, and really anywhere else. Require learner participation while presenting students with the presentation. There's a couple of examples embedded within the presentation. At some point into the presentation, students could have an opportunity to practice what they have learned through informal assessment. And this may look like, for example, if I were to take one of the examples there, and if I were to flip the order of the citing, just to give it a quick thumbs up, thumbs down if it was properly cited. If I were to have asked for the 5 main key requirements when citing certain sources or materials, that can be through, again, informal assessment, orally. We can have students making sure that they understood or retained those requirements, and any other informal assessments that would be appropriate within the presentation or after. Evaluate and revise. For the evaluation portion, of course, the rubric is used to determine students' understanding of the copyright laws and policies and how to respectfully apply what they have learned. The rubric is divided into 4 main categories. So those categories are, and I'm sorry, I'm bringing it up here. Understanding of copyright laws and policies, the application of strategies, citing copyright materials, and then the participation and collaboration with others. So those are the 4 main areas that I would focus my evaluation on, just to make sure that in regards to whether they can do it individually, can they also collaborate with others to making sure that these copyright skills are being appropriately applied to when they are citing sources.